Hey, what's up, everybody? How's it going? Marcos Villegas, Fight Up TV. Welcome to this live chat. Today is Monday, November 18th. We are getting into a new week, but coming off the trail of this Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight that happened on Friday on Netflix that just shattered viewership records and live gate records for a event in, I guess, withholding Las Vegas, Nevada. Vegas having seen the biggest events in the sport of boxing. What's up, everybody? Say what's up in the chat. Let me know what you guys are thinking about the fight that happened between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson on Friday. If you have any comments about it, any questions about it, let me know. The Fight Hub TV team was there in person. What's up, Reynaldo? What's going on? Thank you for viewing us right now. On a side note, we finally reached 2 million subs here on the channel. So big ups to all you guys that have been subscribed to us from the beginning or any part of our journey over here on Fight Hub. And for you new subscribers, what's up, man? Thank you for subscribing to the channel and supporting us and keeping it locked in here with us. So more comments and questions are coming in. I'm going to go ahead and touch on them. So go ahead and keep putting them on. Excuse me if I sound a little bit raspy, man. Got a gnarly cold over the weekend covering the fight in Texas. I feel freaking exhausted right now, tired. But it was a strange week. It was a strange week. That's for sure. You know, just kind of looking back on everything, it was awesome to see Mike Tyson in person for a fight. I never thought I would see, you know, a Mike Tyson, like that energy for like a Mike Tyson, like ever again. Like I'd see clips of Mike on YouTube from his prior fights, and I always wondered, man, like how would it be like to see Tyson in his prime, walking into the ring? So when they announced Mike, and shout out to the ring announcer, Big Mo, man, you freaking killed it, dog. You did a superb job with the entrances. That pop for Mike when he came out was just as loud, if not louder, than when Canelo fought Billy Joe Saunders. And when Canelo hit him, I think he hit him with the punch that broke his orbital bone. And then Canelo signaled to the crowd, like, hey, get up, get up. I remember like that, just the crowd roared when that happened. And I feel this was a little bit louder when Big Mo, the announcer, announced him. That was pretty cool to see that. Now, was the fight memorable? Not really. It wasn't. You know, let's be honest. You know, we got to be honest with these things. The fight was not memorable. It was not a good fight. And let's get right into it, man. I have a few talking points. What's up, Johnny? What's up, Reynaldo? What's going on? So Reynaldo is bringing up a point that a lot of people have brought up to me over the course of all of Jake Paul's fights. You know, was it scripted? No. You know, come on. You think someone like a Mike Tyson would script something like that? I don't think that's in him, to be honest. You know, and here's the other thing. For you to be able to do something like that, it's so hard for info not to get leaked, man. So like this whole like, hey, it's script, these fights are script, they're all in on it. I don't believe so, man. It's so hard to put in a fix for a fight now. You know, certainly it happened in the 50s with the mob influence in boxing, where people would take dives, fighters would take dives for money. But you know, it's so difficult to do that now. And then, you know, there's felony charges if you get found out on that also as well. So no, I'm not of the belief of that. And I think people need to stop with that narrative, honestly. You know, like people call Jake a YouTuber. He was a YouTuber. He's also a Disney kid. But like, look, anybody who trains boxing for 4 years, okay, is dedicated and working on their craft, they're going to have some sort of aptitude for whatever they're practicing and working on. Certainly at this point, Jake is a decent boxer now at this point. He's had 12 pro fights now, a big, huge fight experience. Like people that are 12-1, like he is, are not involved in the massive events that he's put on. So, like in terms of being able to embrace and handle the pressure of going into a big fight, Jake's leaps and bounds beyond other people. Now, in terms of skill and what he's showing in the ring, yeah, he's a novice at this point still. You know, he's learning. He's creeping up to a point where maybe you can consider him as an intermediate. Look, he's only had 12, 13 fights. You know, anybody in that position, yeah, obviously, you know, if you're someone coming out of the amateurs going into the pros, you'd have a little bit more experience, be a little bit more polished. You know, I kind of take it to akin to like, look at Chavez Jr. when he started in his 12th, 13th pro fight. You know, Chavez Jr. didn't have an amateur background at all. So like they were just getting him fights as much as they could to go ahead and gain experience for him. And in a way, that's what they're doing with Jake. I know everybody's like, hey, you know, he needs to fight like real people, real threat, not old people, not older MMA fighters. But, you know, at the end of the day, like, I feel with him, this is also a business type thing also. You know, he has a company. That company needs to be profitable. They need to put on big events where they're able to pay their stable of fighters because they have, you know, fighters there. They have Amanda Serrano, who that fight with Katie Taylor was amazing. That was an amazing fight. And I'm glad they put it on there because, like, look, overall, like how the main event look, it obviously overshadows the Serrano-Taylor fight and the Barrios-Ramos fight, which were two great freaking fights. But at the end of the day, man, like people can't be like mad for watching or paying a ticket for the event, okay? And I'll get into this more in depth because I have a lot of notes on this. But especially for those that were there live, okay? Yeah, the people there live more than likely paid to see a good fight between Mike and Jake, okay? But at the end of the day, what are you really paying for when you're going to an event like this? You're going there to be entertained, all right? That's what, you know, you're going there, you're spending your hard-earned money to escape the hardships, the rigors of boring, mundane life. You're going there to escape, all right? So tell me, you know, when you look at the event overall, they put on some pretty damn good fights. The Taylor-Serrano fight was amazing. Me being ringside, honestly, I thought Katie won the fight. Some people would fight me on that. I've heard a lot of people feel that they thought Amanda Serrano won the fight. Being there ringside, and obviously seeing a fight ringside is completely different than seeing a fight on the TV, but I just felt overall Katie was more precise with her punches. She landed the more eye-catching punches, the straighter punches that landed flush on the face of Amanda Serrano. The Ramos Barrios fight, multiple knockdowns in that fight. That was a great fight. These fights were great. So, you know, people, I just gotta, you know, I still feel like it was a good night worth of entertainment. And yes, nostalgia spearheaded the ticket buys, but let's go ahead and get into some of these notes and overall, like the title of this video. You know, I titled it, "What Were You Expecting?" So I think for the last week and a half, I had a lot of my friends reach out to me and start showing me clips of the fight that people were putting together on social media and just saying like, oh, Mike's going to kill this guy. Mike's going to kill this guy. And I would tell them, no, Jake's going to win. And they'd like look at me like, are you crazy? This is Mike Tyson. I'm like, yeah, but this is a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, man. Like, yes, I know he's not a normal 58-year-old. And props to him for getting into that shape that he's in, for being able to do something like that at 58. That's an amazing thing. Being able to pack 70,000 people at AT&T Stadium, that's an amazing thing for a 58-year-old Mike Tyson to do. And props to him going in and doing that. But at the end of the day, he's 58 years old. Like, you expect him to be any better than he was 20 years ago at the last few fights of his career? Like, how is he going to be better than that? That's 20 years have gone by. And people would mention the the clips that they would see circulating. And I would tell my friends and other people, well, those clips are only like 2-3 seconds, 10 seconds max. Why is that? Ask yourself that. Why is that? Usually when we go out in the field and record fighters, we record their full workouts and those combinations that they throw, like they're doing it for a full 3 minutes. All these clips were very, very short. And some of these clips too were clips from the Roy Jones Jr. camp that they recycled and repackaged and put out on social. So, that was an indication. Now, a lot of fans, and I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube as well, saying like, hey, they felt that they were conned, that they were gypped, that they were sold something that didn't live up to what they were selling. How are you conned? This thing was free on Netflix. Like, how's that a con? Like, you didn't have to. Maybe if you bought a ticket in person, you can go ahead and say that. But to counter that, like, you got a good amount of fights to watch if you were there in person. Yeah, the main event wasn't what you were expecting because you had this fake image in your mind of Mike was still Mike. And maybe, and this is where they got a lot of people that what if always gets us. What if for 2 rounds, vintage Mike comes back? But there's that age-old adage, father time is undefeated. Well, 58-year-old against 28-year-old. Art Tarif. What's up, man? Thank you for the super chat. Art Tarif, what's going on, buddy? Go ahead and read this comment. If you want me to go ahead and answer questions directly and instantly, go ahead and use the super chat to send your questions or comments. If not, I'll randomly be able to go and pick some of your guys' questions and chats. But Art Tarif, what's up, man? Thank you for joining us. Where are you joining us from, Art Tarif? Thank you for the super chat. Jake will lose only when he can't sell a fight. Can you elaborate that a little bit? Because Jake, prior to this fight, had 2 fights that didn't have a lot of people in attendance. St. Pete, Florida, yes. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But he didn't lose that fight. The only fight that he lost was against Tommy Fury, and that was in Saudi Arabia, and he got a bag. They both got a bag for that. But those other 2 fights were against, boxers that weren't that good. They were same record level as Jake, but Jake's probably better than him because he's been more consistent training in the gym compared to them, and he beat him. So yeah, it's in regards to your super chat. Who knows about that? Back to like people saying they were being conned. Okay, Netflix free to watch. You can't be conned when something's free to watch. Now, if you placed a bet on the fight and you feel like you were misled because of what you were seeing on social media, from what you were seeing from interviews done with Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson getting snappy with reporters saying, I'm not going to lose. That's your fault, man. Like, you made a stupid decision. Like, let's look at these. Like, we got to look at these things not with our hearts, but with our mind. Okay. And take all that nostalgia and all that what if away. And I know, like, during fight weeks, we all get caught up with the what ifs. Like, they get us. It's true. They're putting so much stuff out there, but we got to take all that aside and think logically here. And like logically, this is a Mike Tyson who was 58, who a few months prior had that medical emergency, that ulcer. And I don't know if you read this. This is crazy to me. He had like 8 blood transfusions. Mike even said in the post, let me go to the Twitter post. He said that it was like a life-threatening emergency. Here, let me pull it up for you guys. I'll read it off here. This is coming from Mike. Here we go. Look. This is one of those situations when you lost but still won, and I'll get into that because that's a very fair point in what he said in terms of that. I'm grateful for last night. No regrets to get in the ring one last time. I almost died in June. I had 8 blood transfusions, lost half my blood and 25 pounds in the hospital, and had to fight to get healthy to fight, so I won. Oh, excuse me there. Like I said, I'm battling a little cold. I'm on the tail end, but okay, given that, and that was publicized in the news, even with all that, like, why would you bet your money on that? And like, he had a messed up knee too. I spoke to his trainer after the fight, Rafael Cordero, and he told me like, yeah, Mike's knee was messed up. His balance was a little off. That's something that Evander Holyfield picked up in the fight as well. So like, if you bet your money, like, there's always a risk in betting your money, but that's your fault, dude. Like, the facts were like laid out there in front of you. You got a guy who's active, who's fighting, who's young. He's 28. He has a good amount of power, longer reach against Mike, who's 58. He had an exhibition 4 years ago against another 50-year-old Roy Jones Jr. And then prior to that, didn't have a fight for 20 years. Like come on, guys. All right. So with that being said, the other example, that's like, okay, you go to a concert. Say you go to a Guns N' Roses concert, okay? And you expect Guns N' Roses to sound like they did in the 80s. It's not going to happen. They're older. Their voices are going to change. They're not going to be to that level of excellence that you remember them from 20 years ago, because 20 years have passed. But the social clips, Marcos, we're seeing all these social clips like showing Mike, just teeing off on the pads, sparring, dropping people. Like I mentioned, one, they were short. Okay. Two, they were edited. We didn't see full sparring clips. Some of those clips, like I mentioned, were from 4 years ago. And another thing, too, 2-minute rounds. 2-minute rounds. Writing was on the wall. You paid yes to see in person, to see a great main event, but also a night of entertainment, like I mentioned. And Serrano and Taylor was awesome. Barrio Ramos was great. It's not like people were screwed out of a good night of entertainment, because I felt like the event overall was very, very good. I haven't seen a chance to see the broadcast, the Netflix broadcast, to see it on like a production level, which I'm curious to see how like the announcers sounded and how they meshed. I saw a few mixed things online about the announcers mashing with each other and if they were good or not good on there. Let me know in the chat what you felt about the production of the fight and the announcers as well. I'm interested to see your guys' feedback on that. I haven't had a chance to watch it, but the other big question is, okay, Marcos, you're bringing all this up. Mike was old. He had that emergency a few months ago. I read his tweet. He lost half his blood, had to get 8 transfusions. How the heck was this sanctioned then as a real fight? Honestly, man, I have no idea. It's Texas, okay? Texas has a reputation in boxing to sanction fights that normally wouldn't be sanctioned in Nevada or in California. And usually, Nevada, California, New York are the gold standard in terms of sanctioning. If something doesn't get sanctioned in those 3 states, it's on the ABC the ABC will, it's so weird, man. It's such a mishmash of stuff. Okay, so the ABC oversees, it's the ABC is like the I don't want to say like because there is no central governing body in boxing. It's not a thing where there's like a boxing czar that oversees everything. Every commission is different. There's minor tweaks to the ABC rules. But say like, someone gets suspended in Nevada, the ABC and all the commissions will usually follow that. So like if a fighter goes and tries to apply for a license in California and they don't get licensed for that fight, more than not, the other commissions will follow with that. But Texas and Florida have been known to grant licenses where areas these other states wouldn't. And they're really weird with weight. There's been times with fights in Texas where someone doesn't make weight and they let the fight go ahead and go through with it. There's been times where I believe like Edwin Valero got a license to fight in Austin. And that was when I think after Valero's head injury accident, and they went ahead and licensed him, being able to license to fight. So, like, I honestly was very surprised that Texas, one, allowed for the fight to happen and they sanctioned it as a pro fight, given it was 2 rounds. But also, two, this is for money, man. This is this big business. Like, 70,000 record-breaking gate. Like, the Texas Commission is going to get a cut of that in terms of whatever their percentage is on tax of that. So, like, that brings in another thing under the microscope in terms of, is that right? Should their responsibility be for being a commission that brings big events and big revenue to them and the state, or for the safety of the fighters? Because this could have gone sideways and very, very bad on Friday night. You know, Jake, I don't know if you guys are aware, and I'll play a clip from the post-fight press conference. Jake said that at one point he felt bad for Mike, and he felt like he could have taken him out, could have knocked him out, but he chose not to, and he chose to more or less take it easy on Mike. You know, there was points in the fight where Mike didn't really do much, but imagine this, okay, 60 million households. How many million people watching live? Imagine the backlash, the uproar, if Mike would have been knocked out brutally by Jake, seeing how he fought. Imagine that. How much scrutiny, how many people would come after and question the Texas Commission. Why'd you sanction this fight? Look what happened to Mike. Like, they dodged a big bullet in terms of that. And when I was watching it in person, I felt like, man, this is going to backfire on them. You know, this fight's starting to not look good. All these people tuned in to watch these guys, and it's not a good fight. And I felt, yeah, you know, the majority of the people out there are saying all these things about the fight. You know, flip side, it was a successful event. Excuse me. But yeah, if something bad would have happened to Mike, I feel, you know, Greg Alvarez, the head of the Texas Commission, there would have been a lot of pressure probably for him to go ahead and resign, if anything, for allowing something like that to take place. Because in a normal sense, if it was some other 58-year-old going against a 28-year-old who hadn't fought in really 20 years and had an exhibition 4 years ago, there's no chance in hell that they would have licensed him to fight. And yeah, you know, I brought up the point that, you know, Mike's a different breed of person. He's not a normal 58-year-old. And I felt because of that, maybe that was like the reason, like, hey, you know, he's in shape. He's Mike Tyson. He's, you know, this many fights. Jake Paul only has this many fights, but still, I had a big problem overall with this being sanctioned as a real fight. But I know the big selling point was for this to be a real fight and not an exhibition. Interesting stat here. Mike landed only 17 punches against Jake Paul, who landed 78 punches. And I just, you know, watching the fight, I felt after the second round, like going into the third, I felt like Mike didn't really have that much left. And that was the thing that I was thinking about the fight was Mike, the longer it went, the worse it was going to get for him. But that what if, hey, I gotcha. The hook for me was like, what happens in those first 3 rounds? I felt that was his best chance to catch anything. He won the first round. And I'm not saying he looked spectacular in the first round, but, you know, he did win the first round. He did land some good punches, a hook on the chin of Jake, who stuck his tongue out. But after that point, I just felt that there wasn't much left in terms of him. And yeah, rightfully so. He's 58. Jim Lampley's sentiments are very accurate. Yeah, we had that interview with Jim where he mentioned a lot of those things. He did good to survive 8 rounds at 60. He did. And I'll get into something that I wrote about that as well. But let's go ahead and hear from Jake post-fight about how Tyson's power felt and just overall what he felt about the fight. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up right here.
20 minutes when you see.
Oh, the volume's way too loud there. Sorry about that, guys.
Mike across the ring from you. He's giving his peekaboo style. What were your initial thoughts? Because it seems surreal that you got in the ring with Mike Tyson.
Yeah, I was just so prepared. I've gone through the moment so many times in my head and meditation and stuff like that, so it didn't faze me, and I just felt at home just because I'm on the path of riding my destiny, and when you're really close to God and on the path of your destiny, you just feel everything so much more, and you just know what's going to happen ahead of time.
Round 3, Mike seemed to be running out of gas a little bit. You were working the jab really well. At any point, did you start to take your foot off the gas just a little bit because you noticed he was tiring out?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely a bit. You know, I wanted to give the fans a show, but I didn't want to hurt someone that didn't need to be hurt.
Yeah, I kind of felt like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that Mike was more or less a sitting duck, and he wasn't really doing anything, and he didn't have anything left in the gas tank. So when I heard that from Jake, I was like, oh, okay. Like, part of me was like, man, imagine if he did knock him out. Like I mentioned earlier, the outcry, the rage, heads would have rolled over at the Texas Commission for allowing something like that, for allowing someone the stature of Mike, someone so beloved by so many fans, for that, allowing that situation to happen.
Did you feel Mike's power at all?
No.
Now, that to me was surprising that he said he didn't feel Mike's power at all. But hey, look, Mike only landed about 18, 19 punches.
He hit you with one, and you gave him the tongue.
I only because the crowd got turned up, but it didn't actually hurt. But I mean, no one's punches have really hurt. I got buzzed a little bit against Tommy Fury, but that's about it.
F.A. says he's lying. Why do you think he's lying, bro?
It didn't hurt. No, I was just off balance when Woodley hit me, but because I was throwing a check hook and I missed, and then my chin was open, and then he hit me and I went boom. But it didn't hurt.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. Do you feel like it's time for people just to accept you for who you are and not try to say, hey, you need to fight ranked fighters or fight for a belt or those kinds of things, and just accept what you bring to the sport? Because obviously, look what you did tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think so, but the people just love to hate me. I'm easy to hate, and I intentionally, say things to make people hate me. I play the heel. I feed into that, and that's just what I like to do, and that's what entertainment is. And at the end of the day, I started as a 17-year-old in Los Angeles in the entertainment business, but I've been in this sport for 4.5 years and have been so active, doing every event, taking any fight possible. So if people want to see more, or this challenge, or fight this person, whatever it is, my response to them is just give me a couple more months, because I'm going to accomplish more things in just a matter of months, and I plan on doing everything in this sport that there is to be done.
So no, the big talk that's been coming from Jake is he at one point he feels he will challenge for a world title, and that he will fight Canelo. One thing's for certain, like, Jake's big business, man. Like, who else at this many fights is selling out arenas and doing the type of gates that he's doing? No one else. So, like, I feel like the hook there for like someone like a Canelo or a Conor is they're thinking like, hey, this is easy money. Come grab this easy bag. And I know they don't want to play into his game or take the bait, but it's like, a part of this is business, and for them, he runs a company. He wants to have like big events that generate huge gates. Derwin brought up a good question here. Marcos, I felt really bad seeing Mike standing there after round 2. All he was doing was biting his gloves and praying to survive. That was terrible to see, man. Yeah, I think around like 3 or 4, being there ringside, I was just kind of, I felt bad. I felt the same emotions. I was scared something was going to happen to Mike, that he was going to get hit with something big. I didn't like the body language that I was seeing. I was honestly really, really worried. I was on edge a little bit because I felt any one of these punches is going to connect flush, and we're going to see Mike go down, and it's not going to be pretty. And we all love Mike, man. We don't want to see anything happen to him that will be detrimental to his health. So no, I agree with you 1,000%, man. I was worried that something was going to happen the later the fight went.
But just to be clear, right, he's fought UFC champions, he's fought boxing legends, and he's fought boxers that someone with his experience should fight, and he's knocked them out in the first round, right? He did that twice in a row before Mike Perry. Like, he was fighting in front of 4,000 people last December in Orlando, knocking the dude out in the first round, but doing what traditional boxers do. And now he's here putting on the biggest show that boxing has seen in 40 plus years. You know, there was a fighter who tried to bombard our press conference, former fighter, on Thursday, and it was ridiculous. That dude fought somebody that was 9-21 in their 12th fight. This young man who has 4 years in the sport.
So who he's referring to is Tony Bellew, and he did like a funny stint with a betting company in the UK called Paddy Power, where during the final press conference, he had one of those mics with an amp already built into it, so it kind of echoes and reverberates in the arena that we were in. And he just started mouthing off towards Jake. It confused everybody because we weren't sure if it was Tony Bellew or not. So that's who Nikisa is referencing to when he's saying a former fighter.
3 years with MVP. He just fought the baddest man on the planet in front of 72,000 people.
No, 58-year-old Mike Tyson.
On Netflix. And he took it all in and stepped up to the challenge. So to your question about what's next, he's going to do everything that he wants to do to become a world champion. But in the midst of that, he may do things that are crossover, he may do things that are smaller in nature, but that's his path to be the world champion.
So if they want to go ahead, and I believe him, I think that he wants to go ahead and get there. But at some point, he's going to have to fight someone that is ranked in the top 15, and we'll really see how much he's grown, how much he's learned. Like I mentioned, he's had no amateur background. So take these fights as more or less his learning process, his amateur upbringing to get him ready up to speed for any type of potential fights. Jake is the cash cow, boxing crazy. He's one of them. It's Jake, Canelo, and Tank. That's for sure. The fights before Tyson and Jake were real fights. That were real fights. That Mike fight wasn't. Jake said he was going to stay toe-to-toe early, and Mike had him on skates at 58, man. 58 guys think, of course, his legs can't chase all night, so Jake is soft. Is Jake going to fight a younger, hungrier boxer? I don't know. Remains to be seen. Like I said, he has a company, he has a business, so I would imagine he'll fight some guys that are at the same level of him, and then he'll fight some guys that will generate headlines, generate business to be able to pay for his expenses of his companies and all the other fighters. I think it's going to be a balance of things. Someone who gave a reaction to the fight, and I haven't seen his reaction, is Eddie Hearn. Our cameras had a chance to catch up with him. Let's go ahead and listen to what Eddie Hearn had to say about this fight.
Unbelievable. I mean, just the most incredible fights I've seen again.
He's referencing Taylor and Serrano, obviously.
And look, I think if we're being honest, Katie's not as fresh as she once was. And she's having to grind out these victories with just the biggest heart you could ever see in the ring. And I thought it was another tremendous fight.
Yo, chat, who'd you guys think won that Serrano and Taylor fight? Let me know in the comments who you guys felt won that fight and how do you have it scored?
When she got the decision, I was just overwhelmed with emotion to see her get it, and I'm so happy for her.
How close did you see it?
I thought the scorecards were spot on, 95-94. I thought she just slightly outboxed her in the first half of the fight, and I thought she outfought her in the back end of the fight. Both fighters were fantastic. Serrano is a legend of the sport. She's a tremendous fighter. But I felt we deserved it. But if it was a draw, and if it was 95-94 the other way, you can see it. Do you know what I mean? But the emotion that came out was like, I didn't think they'd give it to us. Do you know what I mean? Almost like you could feel it was against us all week. You could feel in the arena it was against us as well. And I thought we just deserved it in another thriller.
Who were your celebrations?
I'm seeing a lot of Serrano already early on. Why do you guys feel that Amanda won the fight? Let me know in the chat.
Well, mainly like Nikisa and his team and everybody. Like there was a lot said during the fight, and I had words with Nikisa after the fight because I felt there was a lot of disrespectful things said to about Katie during the fight. Stuff away from just cheering on, you know what I mean? And it was just pure emotion. And I said to him, look, if you feel like I over-celebrated, I'm sorry, but I didn't like what I heard. I don't think they should have said it. I probably shouldn't have done that as well. But that's just me. That's just it's just what it means to me. So, and I unfortunately, it has
Yeah, there's a video of Eddie celebrating and then getting into it with Nikisa inside the ring.
been all plain sailing, and like even you just saw in the presser there. I said only Katie Taylor's allowed up. Everybody else's team's allowed up, but I'm not allowed up at the press conference. So the team said, "All right, we won't do it." And then we just went up. But I don't understand. Like, I'm not gonna disrespect. I said to Nikisa in the ring, "You've done a great job. It's an amazing promotion. Just because I don't like the main event, don't take that personally. I'm just not going to lie about it. But the event, the promotion, the staging, everything, the viewership was brilliant from MVP, and I give them all that credit. But I'm sorry, when we win and when we win away, I'm going to celebrate because that's what it means to me."
How difficult was this for you to be a part of? But not as
Listen, mate, you just roll with the punches. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Yeah. But as I said to Nikisa yesterday when we had a little bit of beef backstage, they wouldn't let me in the change rooms yesterday after the weigh. And I said, guys, you got to understand, I would never, ever stop you going in from Amanda Serrano's changing room. Like, you got to understand how the game works. And like even that there, it's just little bits and pieces. It doesn't have to be like that. But when it is like that, it's always going to be like that. And when it is like that, when we win, don't expect me just to thank you. I'm going to say, fucking get in there. Because that's what it means to me.
Yeah, there was a lot of little stuff going on throughout the week. We tried to get Eddie for interviews, and he mentioned that he wanted to keep a low profile that week and not do a lot. I don't think he did any interview. I think he just did one interview that either Friday or Saturday, but he didn't do much.
What did you make of that?
I didn't really watch it. I was in Katie's change room. She was getting stitched up. I watched the first 30 seconds, which were quite entertaining, and then after it was just horrible to watch. And that's, I just, like, did you enjoy watching most of that fight? The back, like, it was hard to watch, but it was always going to be like that. But it doesn't have to be. They're not making this for me. Look how many people turned up. Look how many people tuned in. So I can't knock it. Like, it's just not for me. And that's not disrespectful. I love boxing. I don't want to see Mike Tyson stuck in quicksand. And he showed unbelievable heart, by the way. No one wants to see that happening to Mike Tyson.
About the 30 seconds that you saw, I mean, I know Jake Paul was.
They got pillows on. They got 14-ounce gloves on. You know, I mean, he come out like a.
So normally for heavyweights, I believe they wear 10-ounce gloves for the heavyweight fight. So these were 14-ounce gloves, and Eddie's calling them pillows, but if you're a big puncher, even with 14-ounce gloves, you still feel those punches. Yeah, it's not as damaging maybe as minus the 4 ounces of padding, but I've heard stories of heavyweights in sparring just rocking and knocking out people with 18-ounce gloves. So
a raging bull. But after that, he was gassed. But Mike's a legend, and he showed a load of heart, but you just don't need to see it, man.
A lot of people just said, I'm just here to just watch Mike Tyson.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I get it. But maybe they haven't watched boxing for 35 years and love the and I haven't even had a drink and love the sport more than anything, because that's what I do. So for me, I didn't want to see it, and when I did see it, I didn't want to see it even more. But I get the casual fan. Wow, Mike, can he still do it? Has he still got it in him? Science doesn't allow that, All right, guys?
Yeah, Father Time remains undefeated. But yeah, that was a big thing for the casual fan, the casual sports fan. It was that what if factor. So reading your guys' comments, a lot of you felt that Amanda won, and someone mentioned the punch stat, 104 more punches landed. It's not even close. All I could say is on that, from like, the judges don't have the same camera angles as we or you do, the viewer on TV. So, a lot of these punches can be missed, can be blocked. I've mentioned on other live chats and lives that I feel that the judges should have monitors to see when their vision is blocked, so they can go ahead and look to the screen so they don't miss anything and miss a punch. It's on that stat, man. I'm curious who put it out there. Let me see. Jesus, when you mentioned 104 more punches, out of those 104, like how many total power punches were landed between the two? If someone could go ahead and find that stat. That'd be interesting to see. If it's a close percentage, a close power punch landed percentage, and then that's a close fight. Obviously, all three judges felt it was a 1-point fight, which makes it very, very close. So there's no robbery there. There's no robberies in a close fight. And like I mentioned, just watching from ringside, I felt Katie landed the punches that you could physically see Amanda's head moving back. They were straight punches. I'm seeing 107 more punches, but I want to see how many more power punches did Amanda land. A big issue of that fight was the headbutting. That happens when you pit a southpaw against an orthodox fighter. It's a very common thing. It's not just Katie Taylor thing. It happens when southpaws fight orthodox fighters. It happens a lot with the butting in the head and the positioning of the feet. Our Tarif is saying 70 what? 70. She landed 70 more power punches than Katie. What's the stat of power, like a percentage of power punches landed? Someone can go ahead and bring that up. Honestly, I'm surprised they didn't stop the fight because of that cut. It was a bad cut. I know it wasn't impeding her vision, but I've seen referees in other states stop fights with cuts smaller than that, not as bulging as much as that. So I was really, really surprised that the judge didn't step in. I know that the doctors went ahead and viewed the cut. All right, 49.2 to 58.4 Serrano. So Serrano landed 58.4% of her power punches. Okay, that's 10%. Yeah, usually if you land more power punches, the fight goes your way. And you ask, if you're not like too familiar with the scoring of boxing, or why is that? Power punches are seen as punches that are damaging, punches that are effective. They're punches that are not jabs, okay? And how a lot of these judges are trained, and I just know from going to seminars, going to WB judging seminars, a lot of the ways that these judges are trained is the effective punches are punches that are doing damage, that are meant to hurt your opponent. So that's where that comes from. Yes, I was very surprised they allowed the fight to continue. Yeah, no, totally, man, totally. The cut was bad, but Katie used everything else, not just power punches, guys. Learn boxing. But that's one of the main things in judging a fight is, who's the effective aggressor, who's effective with the punches being landed, defense, ring generalship are all categories in this pool of being able to judge a fight. And remember, it's subjective. There's judges there that prefer one style over another. That's why they have three. But they are missing a lot of things with them not having monitors there. CompuBox has a stat. Serrano has everything higher. But that's the other thing with perception, not maybe, the judges felt that Katie was a little bit more effective in there against Amanda, Coach, I agree. Thanks for your content, man. No, thank you, bro. I appreciate that. Everybody, let's get a round of likes too. And subscribe to the channel if you're watching us for the first time as well. Katie led with her head. There's a lot of, I believe Jordan, the trainer and also manager of Amanda, made a thing about how Katie's been doing that her whole career. But if you look at fights with southpaws, it happens all the time. It happens all the time. It's because they're at a different angle. The lead hand is positioned a different way. The head's positioned a different way. If you go and move in and they move in, you're going to get a headbutt. Have you watched the fight again? No, I haven't watched the fight again. I want to go ahead and watch the fight again on TV. Like I mentioned, watching it there live, I felt that Katie won the fight because I just felt that she landed more to the head. I want to go ahead and play just a little bit of Mike's team responding to the performance and talking about it. Here's Team Mike Tyson.
First of all, we'd like to thank everybody for coming and being a part of this historic event. It was the largest event in the history of boxing. I think we can all agree, especially the purist boxing fans, that Mike Tyson is the reason that this event is as big as it is. 21 years old, he made history in boxing. 58 years old, he's made history in boxing. And throughout his entire life, he's been the focal point and the living legend here of boxing. I mean, that doesn't take away anything from what Jake Paul has brought, but you need a dance partner, and there isn't one as big as Mike Tyson. We're very proud of, I think I can, on behalf of head coach Billy White, Coach Raphael, that we're very proud of Mike's his determination throughout camp. I mean, we all remember Mike Tyson, especially if you guys are our age. And of course, we've been with Billy for 45 years. You remember him as the killer, the menace, and you see the pads and you see, just how amazing he is. And we're very proud of him. But, he is a 58-year-old man that has been in the gym and coming to the gym every single day. And some of us who are up at that age can't even get up and do 20 minutes exercise every day. But this man came day in, day out. And I'll let Coach Billy and Coach Raphael, explain a little bit more about that. He came into the day, busted his ass. We were the ones kicking him out of the gym most of the days, telling him to go back home. But he set the bar high for everybody. He went 110 miles an hour, and he's going to allow people of his generation to be able to go 80 because they said Mike Tyson did it. Yeah, and tonight Mike Tyson broke the records. Mike Tyson made history again. 58 years old, he made history again. Just before we walked out, he whispered in my ear and he said, "I love making history." That's what he's built on. So, yeah, we're a little bit disappointed we didn't get the W. We're a little bit disappointed he didn't knock Jake out. I think everybody of our generation is a little bit disappointed that he didn't stop the YouTube kid. But across the world, we're very proud of Mike. And I know everybody across, the globe. He got a phone call from, a good friend of his and a big supporter, His Excellence Turki Ali Sheikh, just before, just when he got into the locker room before he went out. And His Excellence wished him the best and told him how proud of him he was and, gave him a big pep talk also. So he's got, love and support everybody all across the world. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Don't lose the fact that he inspired the world and knocked out Netflix tonight. They went down because there were so many viewers. How great is that? That's a record he set tonight. He's like you just said, he set the bar high, and he's one of the greatest athletes in the history of the world.
Yeah, no doubt. For a 58-year-old to do the things that he did in terms of this, it's crazy. And like I've mentioned, Mike Tyson's not a normal person. He's not a normal 58-year-old.
There's young athletes, boxers, they don't train anywhere near as hard as Mike did at 58. They're not training that hard at 20, 25. He inspired the world. He's a role model. Everybody got him off the couch and made them go to work on their own selves. And that's what the world is about. That's what life is about. Take care of yourself. And Mike inspired everybody. Like I said, knocked out Netflix.
You here, congratulations on your job. I just want to ask you, have you had the time to check on everything that happened to maybe find out what lacked this night? And I mean, another comment that Mike got through 8 rounds, right? So everybody doubted about it, and then he did it. I wanted you to comment something about this, please.
Mike's done 8 rounds throughout camp. We want to make sure that we, built him up to the 8 rounds, and Coach Raphael and Coach Billy made sure that Mike was prepared.
So there's a comment here. Mike trained for 3 rounds at most. No, that's not true, man. You're hearing from his trainers like he's 58, bro. What do you expect? Like, oh man, it's like you can't override the rules of Mother Nature. Like you can't go as hard being older like you did when you were younger. Like imagine, you're running 8-minute miles, okay? And then like at some point you get older, your body can't respond the same way. You can't run as fast. You can't recover as quickly. And those 8-minute miles, you got to take it a little easy, and they start becoming 11-minute miles, 12-minute miles.
His cardio and his trainers, Tony and Andy, made sure that, conditioning-wise, he was ready to go. So 8 rounds wasn't the issue, but what we wanted to see was, ferocity. We wanted to see that tenacity. We wanted to see that aggression through 8 rounds. And, halfway through the fight, it kind of died down. For whatever reason, sometimes you have a bad night at the office, but we're not surprised that it went 8 rounds. We're not celebrating that we finished the marathon by any means. We were expecting Mike to go in there and be ferocious through 8 rounds because that's what he's shown through camp. So, but he did go the 8 rounds, and he finished on his feet. He finished proud, standing, head tall, chin up. It's just another day at the office, man. Mike's been on the giving side for a long time of giving guys loss.
Yeah, but remember when he fought Roy's also in his 50s. It's very different fighting another 50-year-old as compared to someone who's 28.
And sometimes we wear that shoe. Not that we want to, but you have to. It's a tough night at the office. Nobody's happy that Mike Tyson lost, but yeah, we're proud of him. It's not that we're proud of the 28 rounds. We're just proud of the effort throughout camp, and the performance was all right.
It was better than all right. He inspired the world. He inspired people to get off the couch and get in better shape than what they were prior to this fight being announced. How great is that? He made all of us better, every one of us. And he'll do that the rest of his life with his beautiful wife, his beautiful family. He's a beautiful dad. He's grown into a beautiful husband. He's evolved into that. And we could never have imagined that all the years ago. Cus D'Amato and Camille Ewald, his adopted mother and father, would be so proud.
Yeah, that brings up a point that I wanted to bring up about this whole thing with Tyson going into this. Like, you know, at the post-fight, Mike mentioned there's a question there for him that said, hey, you know, do you feel like you proved something to the world? And Mike responded like, I didn't prove nothing to nobody but myself. And that's where, like, I really commend Mike on all of this. Being 58, okay, getting into that type of shape, going through like a grueling camp from what I've been told by, you know, his team, because I spoke to him, okay, almost dying a few months ago, going through those transfusions, had a bum knee coming into this, and with all that, okay, with all that, he still packed that Cowboy Stadium with 70,000 people and fought a guy that's 30 years younger than him. Like, I don't see any other 58-year-old in any sort of sport being able to do something like that. So, like, for that, like, I look at that and I commend him and I go like, bravo, like, damn, man, I want to do ish like that when I'm that age. You know, usually when we're at that age, 58, 60, you know, it's the sunset years of our life where we're really not doing much. We're just living. And Mike is out there showing like, hey, continue to live, continue to challenge yourself and do things throughout your life. Even if you are older, even if you can't run as fast as you used to, still continue to go ahead and run. Even if you can't do things like you used to, still go ahead and challenge yourself and continue to grow and face things that are hard and not take the easy route. So for that, bravo. You know, I want to do stuff like that when I'm 58. I want to challenge myself still at that age. I want to go ahead and try to challenge Father Time and tell him, you know what? I'm going to fight against you. I'm going to make this as difficult for you as possible, because you know what? You can take time away from me, but you can't take my, you know, my will and my heart. And for that, I applaud Mike. Like, Mike is one of a kind. He's a different type of person, and bravo for that, man. And he got a bag. He got a $20 million bag. Like, it's just for someone like him. And I see that as the plus side. Like, the team's not lying. That was inspiring when you really look at it. When we take away the performance, and even that, I highly doubt any of us at 58 are going to be able to look like that and perform the same way that Mike did against someone who's 28. Honestly speaking, 95% of the population is not going to do what Mike did on Friday night at 58. So, you know, when you take that into account, Mike's had an amazing story, an amazing career, an amazing life, and bravo for him to do something like he did on Friday. Oh, wow. Excuse me. Yeah, like I mentioned, I'm still battling a little bit of a cold. Got a little bit of a funk from Dallas, so excuse me for that little cough there. There we go. They fooled the entire world. Not really. Yeah, the writing was on the wall. We knew what. If you like, I feel like a broken record. 28-year-old against 58-year-old. Like, come on. Someone's saying, I felt so bamboozled. Why'd you feel so bamboozled? Let me know. Let's break this down. Again, why'd you feel so bamboozled, my man? Let me know, chat. Did you feel bamboozled, and why? I got a little bit of time. Bamboozled over what? That you felt that a 58-year-old fighter who hadn't been active in 20-something years would beat a 28-year-old who's been active the last 4 years in boxing? You could see Mike holding back and Jake put into the contract. Mike couldn't uppercut. Okay, so that's another weird thing. Like that is not true at all. There was no weird thing on the contract that Mike couldn't uppercut. This was an officially sanctioned fight. There's not rules like that in a officially sanctioned fight whatsoever. Like you can't put that, like you can't do that. Guys, how are you all so fooled, man? You paid nothing. Mike's freaking 58. No, it was a blessing to see Mike live. I'm 30, so I'm thankful. Thank you. Yeah. Like that's the other thing too that I mentioned earlier. It was just cool to see the type of energy and the type of pop for Mike coming in for that. He actually believed the hype of the other guy saying that, yeah, all that stuff that it was scripted, that he couldn't uppercut. Like, why didn't Mike uppercut? He's 58, man. Come on. You know, there's only so much you can do at 58 and then having a bum knee. Dude, did you watch Mike pull back so early? It's not that he pulled back. He was tired already. Like, you've seen the clips, right? They were like 5 seconds long. Like, at 58, you just can't go as long as and hard as you can, even if you were like 48. Mike was bold enough to fight at near 60 years old. Correct. Yes. Correct. People that feel bamboozled over this, it's because they don't understand boxing at all, so it's on them. Hey, I'm 58. He would have kicked my ass. Yeah, that's so true, guys. That's so true. Oh, man, I'm scheduled to speak to Larry Holmes in about 30 minutes about this. I have no idea what to expect from that interview with him. Everything, but I'll stay here a little bit longer to kind of banter with you guys. What about Better Be of calling him out? Yeah, you know, anyone's gonna want to, and people have been doing this with Jake because they know that if they call Jake out, they'll get a little bit of clout, and if he goes through with it, that's like a mini payday. That's like a Canelo type payday for these guys, and given his name stature, it's a huge fight for them that'll boost him up. Now, is he going to go will Jake go through with a Better Be a fight? Like, I highly doubt it. He's not even close to being at that level. Better Be would probably kill him within 2 rounds, if not 1. But it just kind of shows you like how someone at his level is getting the undisputed champion to call him out. All these other fighters to call him out. It's very apparent. It's for the money, you know? Excuse me. Why was Mike biting his glove? What the F was that? That I am not sure about. I think they had asked him about that in the post fight. He said it was just a habit that he has, that he's always had. I don't remember observing that in earlier Mike Tyson fights. So I'm not really sure what that is all about, actually. That's a very good question that I don't even know. I think way too many people who really don't understand boxing is going about making emotional comments, but you know what it is. It helps us remind us the impact Mike has had on the sport. They jealous of the money. Yep, yeah. Jake not fighting nobody that not going to sell out for money. Well, he fought 2 other guys before that. You know, he didn't do much in Florida. I think they only had like 3,000, 3,500 people. So, you know, like that clip we had put on there, he's going to do fights that make sense. He'll probably throw in some guys in there to give him a different look. But yeah, it's always, not always, but yeah, he's, like I mentioned, he runs a company. The motive of a boxing company is to put on events that are profitable, where their fighters can make big paydays. So yeah, of course, like it's in his prerogative to make fights that are going to generate big business. Saw another interesting comment up here. Let's see if I could find it. Exactly, man. They don't get the point, man. He's never even made an excuse for the knee. Mike's game, the real life Rocky movie. People that feel bamboozled all over don't understand boxing at all. So it's about them. I didn't watch boxing every weekend. I did bet for Mike to win first 2 rounds just for the what ifs. Not mad at all. Yeah, you made an emotional choice there. That's what I was saying. If you bet on the fight and you felt bamboozled, that's on you because you made an emotional choice before a rational choice on the bet. Do you think that there's a fighter that wouldn't sell out / would put another principle above money? Can you elaborate on that, please? the fight doesn't count. Mike is 30 years past his prime. Well, it's on his record. If you go on Box Rec right now, you'll see that on his Box Rec, he officially has a loss to Jake Paul. Okay, bro, it's not emotional. I'm not jealous. I'm not a big sports conspiracy guy. I'm totally not a sports conspiracy guy, but this one felt weird. Maybe in 15 years we'll know the truth. Also, why did this one feel weird? Like, he's 58. What do you expect from him at 58? He's nearly goddamn 60. He's about to collect his Social Security. Why Jake put Mike not allowed to see? That's not true, bro. I don't know where you guys are getting that fake news info from. There was no such thing in the contract because he held back so early, man. He didn't hold back. He was tired. He's getting punched in the face by a guy who's younger than him, that was quicker than him, that had longer reach than him. Come on, bro. Come on. Exactly, Jesus. He's 58. What do you like? The title of this is What Did You Expect? He's 50 freaking 8 years old. Yeah, he trained, but he's still 58 years old. Why is that so hard for some people to wrap their brains around? He's 58. Yeah, bro, let it go. It's not weird at all. It's just that your expectations are too high. Come on now. Yeah, it's because we have this picture of him from way back, and we're buying into the nostalgia. We're buying into the spin, the hype to hype up the event. But at the end of the day, like, that's what I said when this first was announced, was it's a 28-year-old against a 58-year-old, a 28-year-old who's been active, who's young, who has been fighting against a guy who had an exhibition 4 years ago and then hadn't had a real fight in 20 years. What do you expect? Dude is like these other people who doesn't even know life, been in a real fight. I mean, fights where that no sense. I'm not sure what you're saying there, bro. Go ahead and reword that. Yeah, I don't know what you meant with that comment there, but I'll be here for a few more minutes, guys. Keep on the comments. Not age, you can't fight. No, it's not that, bro. Like age plays a huge factor on your reflexes, like what you can throw, what you can't throw. Like the mind's still very active. The mind tells you can do it, but the body tells you a different story. Your legs cardio training is not the same as a real fight. Yeah, it's a whole different pace, a whole different type of energy going into a real fight. And people saying, hey, Mike was in the gym, but like, I don't know why it's so hard for some people to understand that, to comprehend the way that Mike looked. Like, he's not a young cat anymore. This is not the same Mike. Like, you really expected him to be better than he was 20 years ago. Like, 20 years have gone by. All right, guys, where he hasn't done much other than be really super successful, start the cannabis businesses, and have a happy life where he's content. Yeah, he had the exhibition 4 years ago, but besides 4 years ago, like, there's nothing there to keep. Like, I don't know. I don't know how it's so hard for people to comprehend, like, a 58-year-old beating a 28-year-old, honestly. Unfortunately, everyone gets old if they live long enough and can't do the same as if in their 20s, if they are near 60. Exactly, man. Oh, my goodness. Aging sucks, people. We are in meat suits here in this world. We certainly are. We're in aging meat suits, man. It's, you start feeling, I started feeling me not being able to recover from like workouts as easily as before. When I hit like 26, 28, you start feeling that. You don't expect your grandfather to beat you in a basketball game. Exactly. If you were to put Michael Jordan right now against, a 25-year-old, I would imagine, some areas would be stacked against. Actually, that's a smart idea to put something like that on pay-per-view. Imagine, Michael Jordan playing a one-on-one game with the LeBron James at this point. That's a big what if there, but hey, Jordan's near damn 65, isn't he? I guess nowadays, even if you're 299, you're supposed to still be living these types of minds we have today. I get annoyed, man. Jordan would win. Stop it. Jordan at 60 would beat LeBron right now, who's playing, who's active. I don't know about that, Jesus. I don't know about that, bro. That might be. Yeah, but LeBron's active, bro. That's the thing. Like, you have a guy who's active, who's younger against a guy who's not active and older. Like, on paper, it's already stacked against him. This is what that fight was. That's exactly what this fight was. Oh, okay. Thank you. Jordan would lose. Yeah, he should be losing. He's 20 years older than this guy. It's the same damn thing. Not even the same position. Yep. All right, you guys. I got to prep for this Larry Holmes interview. It's good chatting with you guys. Good banter. Tomorrow, Benavidez is having his press conference against David Morrell. Keep it here to the channel. We're going to have full video reaction and coverage from that press conference as well. I'm going to ask anybody and their mom about what they thought about this Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight. I'll answer quickly a few more. What did you think of the Serrano fight? I thought it was very close. I didn't think it was a robbery. Watching ringside, I felt that Katie Taylor won because she landed, to me, from my vantage point, the clearer, cleaner punches with that. I'll just say it looked like he pulled back too early. I expected him to be stiff and get gassed, but I don't know. He did get stiff and get gassed, bro. That's exactly what happened. He looked good for a round, which I expected him to look decent somewhat the first 3 rounds, given they're 2-minute rounds, 6 minutes. Maybe he has 6 minutes in him. If anything, he has a good 3 minutes in him. And then after that, I didn't think it would look pretty for him, to be honest. Who is next? Can you discuss before you go? For Jake, I have no idea who is next for Jake. Honestly, like he mentioned in the post fight that his goal is to become a world champion. That is a long road. So they got to be thinking long-term, long game here with that, because they're wanting to, they should be, if this is a serious goal for him, okay? And if I was just part of that team advising, there has to be a balance between having big event fights where you generate revenue to himself and to the company, but also fights where he's getting different looks and getting experience, much needed experience against other opponents that have different styles to get him ready for a bigger step up. So if they're looking at the long game approach, he's in his 20s, he's 28, these next 3-4 years, it really should be about positioning him and getting him ready to make a leap towards someone who's a contender. And then if they can get it somehow, a title shot, and I guess we'll really see what he's made of. But at that point, he'll have 7-8 years in boxing that he's going ahead and training. In terms of names, I don't know who really would make something huge and interesting for Jake at this point. He maybe if he fights Floyd, but the brother already fought him. But maybe there's a thing that they could do there with him. I don't think Canelo would take the fight, even though I personally think that would shatter records and do big business. And that's kind of like a gimme free money for Canelo against Jake. That's a huge, easy bag for him. He would win that fight. I don't think McGregor would, just because of the UFC contracts that he has. Someone saying Deontay Wilder versus Jake, that would be freaking crazy. Imagine that fight. Oh my goodness. Mike's balance when he was just walking around is not the same. He was done after Jake leaned on him twice in the round. So the balance thing was due to a knee injury that Mike had. I actually spoke to his trainer after the fight in the locker room, not in the locker room, but outside the locker room. And he told me that Mike's balance was off because of the knee injury. That's why he had the knee brace. If he fights I Show Speed, yeah, but that's, Jake is going to win that fight. I Show Speed has no fight experience whatsoever. He's a great athlete, but athleticism can only take you so far in boxing. This boxing is called the sweet science for a reason. Like a guy who's been training boxing 4 or 5 years is going to beat a guy who's only trained boxing for 6 months. It's a no-brainer. But yeah, in terms like Tommy Fury, I think at some point they're going to run it back and do a rematch. Tommy Fury announced a fight with Darren Till, which I'm surprised how that got made, because as far as I know, Darren Till's still an active UFC fighter, correct? Unless they're giving a UFC a cut or some sort of tie-in for that. I'm really surprised that fight is getting made, because I've just heard that even after a fighter stops fighting for the UFC, they're still under contract if they retire, where they can't do certain things with their career. But all right, guys, I got to prep for this interview with Larry Holmes. Go ahead and have a great rest of your week. Thank you for tuning in. Let's go ahead and share and likes. Give a final round of likes. Let's get more people up in these live streams as well. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. John Jones, that fight was sick. That spinning back kick crushed the. When I saw that spinning back kick, I thought of that Mortal Kombat animation in MK 11 in the new Mortal Kombat, where you see like the X-ray and like the bones breaking. Like I totally thought that when he landed that spinning kick. I don't know much about Tom Aspinall. I don't know if he can beat him or not. But it makes me wonder about Ngannou, if Ngannou can beat John Jones. But we're never gonna see that fight. We're never ever gonna see that fight. All right, you guys, take it easy. Have a great rest of your week.